Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to WVC 6 Total Force. We have an 8-man tournament tonight. Exciting matches plus a super fight. We're in the beautiful city of Salvador, which is the capital of Cachoeira. The laws in tonight's matches are no biting, no eye gouging, no holding the fence. There'll be a 30-minute limit. The ways to win are by knockout, if the corner throws in the towel, tapping out, or by judge's decision. My name is Mark Silverman, and here at ringside with me is Darren Harvey, our martial arts authority. Be calling the fights with us.
How you doing, Mark?
Hi, Darren. How are you? It looks like we got some interesting fights tonight. A good lineup. The people are excited.
Yeah, Frederico's done it again. He's put together the classic matchups. It should be an extremely intense night of fighting.
Yeah, it looks like we've got an interesting mix of styles. The first fight we're going to see, in fact, will be a stylist of jiu-jitsu versus a kickboxer. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be one of the alternate matches. Guilherme Almeida, he's a jiu-jitsu stylist, 180 pounds, 5'10", blue trunks. He's going to be fighting Jorge Alexandre. He's a kickboxer, weighs 190 pounds, also 5'10". He'll be in the white trunks.
I think what we're going to notice here is the jiu-jitsu guy is going to immediately try and take down the kickboxer. The kickboxer is going to use his strength, which is kicking and punching, try to knock down the jiu-jitsu guy, or knock out the jiu-jitsu guy. Should be an intense fight. These are both very talented athletes.
Guilherme's in the ring. The blue trunks, he looks pretty fit.
Yeah, he's trained very hard. I spoke with him before the fight, and he's been working out very hard. He's taking this fight very seriously. This is an alternate match, so neither of these may make it to the finals, but the way these fights go, a lot of fighters will end up injured, and so there's a good possibility that one of these two gentlemen may be fighting in the finals.
Yeah, sometimes these guys, they put on a better show. They'll work their hearts out to enthusiast the crowd.
And here we have Jorge. Now, the energy here is just tremendous. It's amazing the Brazilian fans just really appreciate the fight game. It's such a part of their culture.
This crowd's very enthusiastic, and they're also very familiar with the jiu-jitsu. Not so much with the kickboxing until more recently. Jiu-jitsu has been a big part of their culture for the last number of years. All right, there's the ring girl. And Brazilian women, of course, are among the most beautiful in the world.
That's really why we're here tonight. Well, here they go. They're getting ready to do it. And we're going to see Gilmore in the blue trunks. He's going to try and take down that kickboxer. But it may not be that easy, because what's happening now, a lot of kickboxers are learning counters to some of the jiu-jitsu moves. Everyone's trying to be the most complete fighter they can be, which is really important in the modern fighting. You could just feel the tension.
They're getting ready to start. It's like two pit bulls. Both are straining at the leash. This is a good fight to open up with, too. It'll showcase the two styles, the differences, and what we can expect later on in some of the matches. They're getting their instructions.
These two fighters, I spoke with both of them earlier this evening, and they have a lot of respect for each other. They really respect each other's styles, and they don't take each other lightly whatsoever.
As you predicted, of course, Jorge's coming out boxing. But interestingly enough, Guilherme's throwing some kicks. We'll see if he keeps that up.
This happens now. The jiu-jitsu guys will throw some kicks, trying to soften it up, work their way in, so they can do the takedown and ultimately either take them into the guard or mount them, where they can finish off the kickboxer with some sort of a submission, whether it be a choke or an arm bar.
What I am noticing, though, is the kickboxer, he is showing a certain wariness of the jiu-jitsu style, and he's throwing his punches and his kicks from a little far outside. He's not within a good range to be effective with the punches, and I think that's pretty much made to order for a jiu-jitsu stylist.
I think so, but of course the striker's going to be very concerned.
He's got a hold of him. And they're down.
Oh, boy. Oh,
Guilherme's on top.
Jiu-jitsu guys in the guard of the kickboxer. And now you see Guilherme slide Jorge's head into the fence, and you'll notice.
Now he's got Guilherme is in the guard of Jorge. What's Guilherme going to do to try to improve his position?
Well, he's in the guard. He's going to try and strike and soften him up a little bit and try and work his way out of the guard. And from that point, now you see he's opening up the guard. He's working his way out.
Does he have any choke possibilities from this position, or is he basically looking to strike and
it's really very difficult to be in a man's guard and do submissions, especially without the gi. In traditional jiu-jitsu, there are some chokes that you can do.
It looks like he gave up. He received about 10, 15 repeated blows to the ribs, and it looks like Jorge tapped out. We couldn't see too well from our vantage point here, but the referee called the fight, and the match goes to Guilherme. So your first winner, Guilherme, the jiu-jitsu stylist from Brazil. And we'll be back in a few minutes with our next fight. The next fight up is going to be an interesting one. We've got a Kung Fu and Pancrase stylist. So the guy's done some striking. He's going to be fighting Waldir dos Anjos, and Waldir's from Bahia, Brazil, and he's also a jiu-jitsu stylist. He's fought Vale Tudo, so he's very familiar with the octagon. He knows his way on the ring.
And Joel Sutton has fought in the WVC 6 and 7, and he's pretty familiar with the game. And he's a tremendously tough fighter. So we're going to see quite a good job from him tonight.
They're about the same weight, 200 pounds. Slight height advantage. Joel is 1 inch taller than Waldir. Joel will be in the blue trunks tonight. Waldir is going to be in the white trunks. They weighed in at 205 pounds. They're down a few pounds from up a few pounds from their last fight. Joel enters the ring. He looks like a mean character.
Waldir's also a great fighter in his own right. He was champion of the first Bahia Open, and he's just a tremendously well-conditioned athlete, as you'll see. And he's got the jiu-jitsu and Vale Tudo background, so he's pretty well-versed with striking and submissions. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens tonight and what's going to happen with the Kung Fu and Pancrase practitioner. Pancrase is a type of tournament relatively similar to this style of fighting, though they can only strike with open hands, and they don't leave them on the ground quite as long.
Well, he looks to be in top shape. There's a little lag getting into the ring. We have ringside with us Frederico Lapenda, who's the promoter of this event. Frederico, why don't you say hello to the people?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Mark. Hi, Darren. It's a pleasure being here on another show. And as you guys know, we're supposed to do the super fighting between Igor Vovchanchyn and Edson Carvalho, who trains under the Death Master. But unfortunately, he canceled the fight 3 days before, so I wasn't able to get the fight that I really wanted for this show. However, the 8-man tournament looks pretty good, and we're able to find a guy to substitute Edson Carvalho. His very first fight you guys are going to see now, it's Waldir dos Anjos, the guy wearing the white trunks. A jiu-jitsu Vale Tudo practitioner, the guy's in top shape, and he's facing Joel Sutton, who's fought before in the UFC, both 6 and 7, undefeated, and he went on to fight in Pancrase, where he lost a couple times and won one. So we have both fighters experienced about, the height and weight is about the same.
And they've never met before.
They haven't met before. Waldir being a better grappler and Joe a better striker. So this fight, if it stands up, I think Joe will have the best. If it goes to the ground, Waldir should win.
It's always interesting to me to see the Kung Fu practitioners in the ring, because we very seldom see any techniques that you might consider typical kung fu techniques. It seems like they get lured into the grappling aspects of the fight pretty quickly and pretty easily. So I'll be looking to see if Joel shows us any of his kung fu technique.
I think that's really one of the reasons for the success of jiu-jitsu in this tournament. The jiu-jitsu practitioners have been able to sort of suck all the other fighters into their game. Until just recently, where kickboxers have started to do relatively well in the tournaments by learning to avoid the takedown of the jiu-jitsu practitioners. But generally, if the jiu-jitsu guy gets you down on the ground, you're in pretty big trouble unless you could fend off the attacks.
Well, as we were talking about earlier, I think the jiu-jitsu, the grapplers, they have a big advantage in fighting. Generally speaking, they get to train a lot more realistically and have a lot more hands-on experience where, let's be honest, kung fu guys, some of them train many, many years and never have a real fight.
Yeah, it would be very difficult to practice killing techniques on a day-to-day basis without killing. You would have nobody to work out with.
That's true. Cut down your enrollment in the school.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful right hand.
Came right in, took him down. He's pummeling him. Look at that.
Oh boy. Yeah. I think
He's
Joel
on top of
Sutton.
him. That's amazing.
Joel Sutton. I think the referee just stopped the fight.
Yeah, that was a quick one. And I expected, actually, if the fight was standing up, for Joe to have the best.
His aggression, I think, probably surprised Joel Sutton. He probably expected somebody to try to do a leg dive or a leg trip.
Yeah, I think it's
amazing.
What you're seeing happening right now is like fighters like Vitor Belfort who get off very fast and they throw their hands so rapidly that the opponent doesn't really have a chance to respond.
Yeah, good point.
That's amazing. I'm actually very surprised also.
Yeah, I think he is.
He looks a little groggy.
Yeah, he's not feeling too good.
Yeah, it's sad. The guy flew 12 hours to fight for 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, again, this is only good for the martial arts. People, the grapplers are learning the striking are learning the grappling, and I think martial arts should be a total package. I don't think there's any one style that can claim any superiority. I think originally all the styles came from the same place, and I think everything at one time was included in a martial arts curriculum. I think it's only modern times where things split up and people started tooting their own horn, shall we say.
But I think things have changed tremendously in the last couple of years with the Gracies coming in and introducing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the United States. And people, there's always, every kid in school would always wonder who would win in a fight, the boxer, the wrestler, the karate guy. And I think what we're seeing now is generally, if you have strong ground techniques, you're going to pretty much be able to dominate the fight.
Well, we have coming up another interesting matchup. We have a kickboxer versus a jiu-jitsu player, Felix Mitchell from the USA.
Yeah, he's a big, strong guy.
Black pants, he's 210 pounds, 5'11". And Luiz Claudio, he's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, 225 pounds. He's wearing the black.
I saw Felix Mitchell working out on the heavy bag earlier today, and I've never seen anyone with devastating kicks and punches like this. This guy is something else. But again, I think the advantage goes to the ground fighter. I don't think Felix has tremendous experience on the ground or being able to fend off the takedowns of the jiu-jitsu stylist.
Well, we'll see. Luis, he looks pretty sturdy. He's in the ring now.
Yeah.
These guys are all in great shape. I'll tell you
They
what.
really
They put professional boxers to shame half the time. It's pathetic. The boxers come into the ring so out of shape for so much more money, and these guys, half of it's for the love of the sport.
These guys are what we call the real fighters. This is, there's always that question, who would win between Mike Tyson? Mike Tyson would not have a chance against a strong grappler if they were to get their hands on him and take him down to the ground. They would easily finish him off.
All right, the referee's starting the fight.
Yeah, you're going to see Felix probably come off with some jabs, and maybe he's a good leg kicker, so he might start to throw some leg kicks. The classic front kick of the jiu-jitsu practitioner. You see, he does that. It's more of a push kick, used to push the opponent away, distance him a little bit,
Keep you off.
open up enough space to move in and take him down. So when you see their hands out very rigid, it's strictly defensive mode.
He's trying to get the other guy to commit so he can find an opening there.
Yeah, exactly.
And he runs him back into the fence.
Okay.
And he took him down. Simple as that.
Just worked his way into the side. He's got side control.
He's on top.
And this is a very dominant position. You'll see what he's going to do. He's going to try and get his right leg over in order to take the mount where he could do most of the devastation. And a fighter on his back in the guard position has an advantage, but if you're strictly mounted, there's really not a lot that you could do.
Well, you'll notice that Felix is countering. He's got his leg over Luis's leg. He's keeping him from mounting at that point, at least. But
it's kind of a half mount situation.
But he doesn't. Does he have an out from here? Does Felix have an out?
Well, he could possibly try and pull his right leg underneath and pull Luis into the guard, but he obviously doesn't have much experience on the ground to be able to do that.
Yeah, Luis is working him out away from the fence a little bit, give himself some room.
Now he's going to try and throw some knees, I would think. Oh, he worked his way over to the... Wow. God, the energy is just so incredible tonight.
You know, he's up and he's throwing a few punches now.
So what he'll try and do is soften him up with some punches. Hopefully Felix Mitchell will stick his hands up, and Luis will be able to take Felix into some sort of an armbar. Because the natural defense, when somebody's striking your face, you want to push your arms to push them away, which is a dangerous thing to do with a jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Well, Felix apparently hears you and he's taking your advice. He's keeping his arms bent. It looks like he's using his forearms and his elbows to keep Luis off.
Yeah. Luis will, as you see, he's using his head.
He's already bleeding. He's got a cut over his left eye.
If you'll notice, the WVC is one of the few tournaments left where they haven't eliminated a lot of the rules to sort of appease the public and the politician. This is fighting at its best. Headbutting is a big part of a fighter's game, and those weapons have been taken away from some of the other fight organizations, such as the Ultimate Fight group.
Well, you can see the blood is running down Felix's forehead. We can't tell from here if it's a bad cut, but it's certainly bleeding. And they're locked up. Felix has his arm around Luis's neck.
Which is a dangerous thing for a bad place for his arm.
Well, he's not going to be able to hold that position very long, and he does have to let go. Now he's got a side mount.
Yeah. Well, he's Felix is doing an okay job of keeping that knee inside and preventing that mount, which is really a bad place for a fighter to be.
The referee's keeping a close look at him.
Yeah. Yeah, the cuts, it seems like there's some blood coming out of the nose.
They're having a conversation, but we can't tell what they're...
The referee's going to stand him up.
Well, he's calling for a doctor to check the eye. The doctor's examining him.
Yeah.
It looks like a pretty nasty gash.
You know, a lot of people consider this sport to be much more brutal than boxing, and really the gloves are more to protect the hand than the fighter. Boxers suffer tremendously more.
It's over. He stopped it.
Oh yeah, and I think that was a good decision. He was clearly being controlled on the ground. Felix was being hit with headbutts and elbows, and I think the doctor did a good thing here. At the end of the day, we want our fighters to go home healthy.
Let's hope it's not a serious injury. He'll get stitched up. I'm sure he'll be back in training in a couple of days. But once again, the kickboxer was run over by the jiu-jitsu guy. So we've seen these jiu-jitsu players. They've taken an advantage by striking and by takedowns, but they've been the aggressor. I see that the kickboxers are a little more tentative. The next fight, Amilton Cachoeira. He's also a jiu-jitsu stylist. Today he came in at 205 pounds. He's 6 feet tall. He's going to be wearing black trunks. And he's going to be fighting Alessandro Freire, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu stylist, 230 pounds.
This should be
in the black shorts also.
Oh, he's coming in very, very well conditioned today.
Into the ring. Yeah, these guys are the washboard stomach. These guys train.
Yeah, they work out very, very hard. I personally train in jiu-jitsu myself, and I know what I train with a lot of the champions. And
well, you've trained all over the world. Do you train down here? Do you spend some time with some of the
Brazilians?
I
have. Frederico has been kind enough to take me around to train at some of the top schools in Brazil, and he's such a well-respected guy, Frederico, that they sort of take me in like their family.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I feel very fortunate.
There's Alessandro. He's a fire plug.
Yeah, he's. Don't ever be deceived because somebody might seem to have a little bit of little excess girth on their body.
Oh no, that's
Sometimes
why I
it's
carry
just a
it.
genetic thing, and
yeah.
but doesn't mean they're not strong. And this gentleman I know has been training tremendously hard for this fight.
You know, I always carry an extra 10, 20 pounds on me just in case there's a challenge of the fight commentators.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
well, you keep that up. I might have to, you know. Yeah, it's going to be a good fight.
Referee's got in the middle of the ring. Now, they're both jiu-jitsu stylists, so we can expect this to clash pretty quickly.
Exactly.
Of course, we haven't been right every time yet, so we'll see how this unfolds.
I hope to, at some point, to get to the point in my life where I am right every time, and then we'll know I'm getting somewhere. But I think it should be a very good fight. What you'll notice is two jiu-jitsu guys.
And immediately,
he's trying to take him down now. They're in a clinch. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Swept him, got him down.
So these guys, they're familiar with each other's counters and what the other guy is going for.
Absolutely.
It's basically a matter of who's the better man at
Exactly.
this point.
It's a game of chess. It really is. Avoiding the submissions. It's the smarter fighter wins here.
He's throwing some punches. Alessandro's throwing some punches to the midsection, hooking him into the ribs, trying to soften him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Milton's got him in the guard.
Yeah. Those, it doesn't seem as if, though, it's devastating, but those rib shots that Amilton's throwing really take an effect after a while. The ribs tend to get real sore, and it can take the energy away from the fighter.
Wow.
Yeah, Alessandro is working very... Some fighters I find can fight very well off their back and generate a lot of velocity on their punches.
Now, how does that feel to their hands? I see Milton's punching Alessandro in the head.
It can
Is that
be
going
hard
to take a toll on his knuckles eventually?
It can definitely take its toll on the hands, and that's another thing, going back to people thinking that this is such a brutal sport. You have to conserve your hands. The gloves generally preserve the hands and not the fighter.
That's right.
So in the long run, he can't hit quite as hard with those bare knuckles.
And he can put himself out of the tournament. He breaks a knuckle.
Which is more effective is using the elbows. The elbows seem to hold up a lot better than the knuckles. But here, this is the classic closed jiu-jitsu guard, and you're going to see Alejandro try and work into some sort of a submission. And Amilton is having a difficult time getting out of this guard. He's really, though he's on the top position, he's really in the inferior position.
So the guy on top, although it looks like he's superior, because Amilton has him in his guard with the arm around the neck, he's actually got an advantage at this point.
Exactly.
So what can Alessandro do now to put himself in a superior position?
Alessandro, I believe, is in the superior position.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how you look at it. I mean, some people prefer to fight from their backs, even though they are, it looks to the average person like they're in disadvantage. I personally, I don't see anything wrong with fighting from your back, but I would prefer to be on top. So in that situation, you have the guy in the black trunks, Alessandro Freire, inside of the guard of Amilton Cachoeira.
Right.
But you can tell both guys have a pretty good knowledge of ground fighting.
Now, he just let go, and they both started swinging at each other. When he let go, would that have been an opening for Amilton, or did Amilton buy right into what he was doing and just start trying to swing back at him?
What do you think, Darren?
Well, I think that anytime that you let go, you leave yourself open for something, but sometimes you use a little bit of a trap. Maybe you'll suck somebody in, open up a little bit, they'll throw a strike, and you can work them into an armbar or something like that.
So it was like a chum. He was hoping to get a reaction that would be favorable.
Exactly. Like the conversation we were having earlier about Kung Fu, and sometimes somebody will throw a strike with no intention of hitting that opponent, but enabling yourself to work yourself over to the back to choke them out. So it's a very similar philosophy. It's like give a pawn to get a queen.
Right. Not everything is as it seems at first viewing.
See, I personally think that their ground levels, their skills is about the same, but you have Alessandro outweighting the other fellow by 30 pounds, 15 kilos. So I think weight will play a big role in that
It's interesting
match.
that you say that, Frederico, because a lot of people say weight is not a factor. Weight happens to be a factor when all things are equal. When skill is equal, weight has everything to do with everything. But if somebody knows nothing about the ground, somebody 40, 50 pounds less can easily finish the heavier opponent.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, fighters do that. Even stand-up boxers, they'll use their weight to bully someone into the ropes and lay on them, lay on top of them, and use their weight to wear them down. And it's got to be hard to breathe. He's just a guy laying on top of you, 230 pounds, laying across your ribs.
This is a very strategic game of cat and mouse, though to the general public it may look like what's happening here is very boring. This is actually very exciting what's going on right now. And
Yeah, Alessandro was trying to break the guard for a little bit, but immediately he left himself open, took a couple of strikes by Amilton. He came back to that close guard.
I can't get over the conditioning of these two athletes. I mean, just for 2 minutes delay here doing this, the average person would be exhausted.
Never mind when you have an adrenaline as a factor, you know.
Sure, I'm exhausted talking about it. And now they're locked up, and they both know they're locked up, so now it becomes a chess game.
Exactly.
Stells a little bit. Now I think the guys are taking their time to relax for a little bit and
You notice they're using the fence. He's driving.
trying to corner Amilton, which I mean it can be useful if he's going to strike, but I mean it doesn't look like he has too much energy at this point. What do you guys think?
Well, I think it could be pretty uncomfortable having your head lodged into that fence.
Well, it's
and
like
it
a
could
neck
put a lot of
crank.
strain on the neck.
It's like a neck crank.
Exactly.
The position he's in, not only does it put strain on the neck, but it limits the direction in which he can move his neck.
And this is chain link. This is doesn't feel good. I know as a kid climbing a chain link fence hurt. So to have my head jammed into one wouldn't be too
Gives him another wall.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, he's sliding him up even farther. He's creating, I'm sure, some discomfort in the back.
Oh, yeah.
The neck's in an unusual position.
They're both fighting very smart fights. They're trying to keep each other very close to each other, kind of neutralizing each other's blows, which is really what you want to be doing. And ideally, Amilton.
Wait, there's some action now. He broke free. He's still in the guard, but there's a moment there where he created some space, some distance, tried to throw a few punches, and then Amilton pulled him right back down to him. So Amilton's keeping him close where he can't do much damage, and Alessandro wants to get a little distance so he can land a few shots.
For those who don't know, Alessandro Freire trains under Helion Gracie, who is a brother of Carlson and son of Carlos Gracie, the creator of the Gracie diet, and the Gracie, the oldest Gracie brother of all. Carlos Gracie was his father, and the Helion is there working the corner for both Luiz, Claudio, and Alessandro Freire.
Yeah, the Gracie family really responsible for making this sport so popular. I really have a tremendous amount of respect for them.
They're certainly the whole resurgence of grappling.
Yeah, they do earn the credit.
Yeah, a lot of people say that they try and discredit them, but they deserve every bit of credit.
Well, I think, interestingly enough, what people are angered by very often is what seems to be the hubris, the ego of the Gracie brothers, the challenges, the fight-all-comers matches. And realistically, though, down through the ages, martial artists, even in ancient China, they blew their own horn because that's how they made a living. They went into other villages and they had challenge matches. And the guy who lost the fight, he was either in really bad shape or he left town.
Yeah, that old theory about if you talk about how tough you are, you probably don't know anything isn't necessarily true.
No, this traditionally martial artists in the old days, they made a living by going around and
it's a way of promoting themselves.
that's right.
And their
They had
style.
to. That was their bread and butter. That's how they ate. And again, the bad styles went away. The good stylists left. Gained some fame, notoriety.
Oh, he escaped Milton's guard. Now he has a side position, which is clearly the superior position.
Okay.
Now what he's probably going to try and do is work his way around and maybe work some knees into the head, or maybe go for the mount.
He's going to try to work himself back on top, do you think? Or is he
I
going to
would.
work from a side
Well, there's a lot that
headlock?
you could do from the side. There's a lot of submissions you can do.
Threw
from
a nice
the side.
punch there.
Yep.
Caught him maybe glancing off the side of his face, a right hand. These guys are working hard, no doubt about it. A little flurry. He's got the arms, a hand lock position to give himself some extra strength to hold on, to keep Alessandro close.
Well, he's clearly in the superior position. He's in the mount, and the difference is if the legs are wrapped around the waist, the gentleman on the bottom would have an opportunity to do submissions. There's virtually no submissions that he could do. The only thing he could possibly do is either pull him back into the guard by using an elbow escape or doing some sort of a sweep. But he should be working right now and trying to get his legs through, pushing out with his elbows, pulling his legs underneath, and bringing his legs back around the waist.
Well, he just tried to pull the right leg up, but he caught a shot in the face for his trouble.
Yeah. And it's very difficult to do a sweep when your opponent has 25 or 30 pounds on you. It makes it difficult, even if you technically do everything right. Oh, we're getting another vantage point.
You know, Milton's still throwing some punches in the bottom. He's struggling.
Oh!
Some wild hooks from Alessandro. The jiu-jitsu teaches them the patience to sit and wait for an opening.
Exactly. It's a waiting game. Energy management. You really want to manage every bit of your energy. You don't want to, what we call in our school, berserko moves. Those generally don't work.
He's up, he's sitting up, throwing some punches. Some wild swings.
He's a very effective puncher from the top. I've seen him fight before, and he just uses every bit of that body weight. Oh, yeah.
And it's a submission.
Yep. Stopped him.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, as expected, the heavier guy got the best of the fight. Not counting the fact that he trains under Helion Gracie, a very experienced, fighter himself. And
well, Federico, you've done it again. You put together a tremendous fight.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm a little disappointed. I got this arena for 10,000 people. Only 1,000 people showed up due to the fact that Edson didn't fight. But let's go to the next fight.
We got Travis Fulton. He's a wrestler primarily. He's 215 pounds. He's 5'11". He's in the blue trunks. He's from Iowa, which is pretty much the home of wrestling in the United States. He'll be fighting Alex Cerqueira from Bahia. He's going to be in the black shorts. Alex is a pretty tough customer, but Travis...
He's a world-class wrestler.
One
of the best wrestlers in the world at one time.
He's a strong boy. He also, he's been adding submission holds to his wrestling. He won the Hawaiian Super Brawl. He's fought in the Extreme Challenge and won. So he's got experience in the no-holds-barred arena.
He does.
He's a tough kid.
He's not just coming in with straight striking skills. This guy can easily get on top of you, control you, and use the ground and pound technique in order to finish the fight. I find the wrestlers aren't tremendous with the submissions, but they really can stop you with just headbutting and strikes. And that's, if you've watched any of the Ultimate fights, you'll notice Mark Coleman, since they've taken headbutting away, Mark Coleman hasn't done very well in the tournaments. And that's the big difference between, this is real fighting, what we're seeing here.
Right,
today.
And also, conversely, though, some of the wrestlers originally came out of the box like wildfire, but then lost to some of the jiu-jitsu guys after the wrestlers got a little more savvy.
And even some of the strikers, some of the top kickboxers, the wrestlers have been very prone to leg kicks. And when they started introducing top world-class kickboxers such as Maurice Smith and Bas Rutten into the game, it's changed everything. And these kickboxers get their legs, the wrestlers get their legs traumatized until they can't even go on anymore. Bring their hands down and get knocked out with strikes. It's been happening quite a bit.
Well, as you said, though, they're becoming more well-rounded as these fights progress and as there's more money and more fame. It's attracting a better class of fighter, and people are willing to spend the time learning more skills than they originally had.
Oh, yeah.
But wrestlers are very comfortable inside. They're comfortable holding on. It was just a different game. Now they have to learn something different than college rules.
I think Travis has a good chance of winning this whole tournament.
Well, I don't know. Alex looks pretty... he looks pretty spry. He's light. He's coming out with some punches.
Watch this.
And
classic double leg takedown.
Travis is going for the takedown.
Yeah.
But
he's
got
Travis
it. Is trying to
he's
counter
got it.
down.
But put himself into the guard position, which is not where anybody really wants to be. Now he's in the half guard. And you notice the wrestler keeps his head down real low. They know how to keep their weight real flat in order to neutralize the sweeps of the jiu-jitsu fighters. They have tremendous bases. Wrestlers I would say, have the best base and the best takedowns of any of the grappling styles. The only thing they're lacking generally is the submissions. Arm bars, leg locks, chokes.
Well, it looks like Alex has a headlock.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to do anything with that headlock. That's not even an irritant for the wrestler. Generally, you don't want to do a headlock. It might buy you a little bit of time, but that's about it. You're not going to stop any good grappler with a headlock.
Well, he's letting go and striking, but from that position, there can't be much force in a punch. No. He's punching all the way across his body, so I don't think that's going to help him.
What Alex should be doing now is trying to work that right leg underneath and pulling Travis into his guard, because there's really not a lot that he could do from that half guard position.
So he wants to get his legs around Travis's middle.
Exactly. Pull him in. And like I mentioned earlier, the difference having your legs around the waist or being sitting over the legs on top of the waist, whether you're mounted or in the guard, they're two entirely different games.
It looks like he's working him now. He's getting his knees up. Is he trying to get his knees up into his chest?
What he's doing is bringing his leg up, trying to give some irritating heel kicks to the kidneys.
Punching to the back of the head. He's wearing gloves.
Yeah.
He's wearing
I think he just lost the half guard position. Okay, now the wrestler has him fully in the side position. And now the wrestler, Travis, just took the mount, which is exactly where Alex does not want to be.
And he's pounding the head, but the kid...
yeah, he was able to shake him off. He was able...
But not far enough off.
Yeah.
And now he's in a spot where he had to give up.
Yeah.
He was stopped by the referee.
Yeah. It was a good call. He was really getting pummeled by Travis.
He didn't look like he knew where to go with that.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't.
Well, Travis Fulton of Iowa.
Yeah. The home of all the wrestlers.
All right, that was a fun fight. Now we're coming up with the first of the semifinals. We're going to have Waldir dos Anjos, who we saw win earlier, fighting Luiz Claudio, and this ought to be a war.
You're not kidding. These two guys are two very aggressive fighters.
Waldir's in the white trunks, and Luiz Claudio's going to be in the black trunks. We told you a little bit about him before. Waldir is from Bahia, and he's a jiu-jitsu stylist who's done Vale Tudo, and Luiz another jiu-jitsu stylist. This time the weight goes to Luiz. Luiz a little bit heavier and a little bit taller. And we'll see how Waldir does. He was very aggressive in his first fight. We'll see how he does against Luiz.
I think Waldir will do pretty darn good here. These are both tremendously well-conditioned athletes. But the weight is going to be a factor. There's no question.
Well, they're coming toward the ring.
For anyone that doesn't know, when we talk about Vale Tudo, that in Portuguese means anything goes. So it's not just a name they made up, it has a meaning, and that's really what this type of fighting is. It's Vale Tudo, anything goes. The only thing you really can't do is eye gouging, and that doesn't take a lot of experience to learn how to gouge somebody's eyes, you know.
Well, this is their tradition. This is the Brazilian tradition, and it's one of the few places left in the world that still offer this no-holds-barred competition. So there are very few places these fighters can go to prove their worth. And this is one of them. Frederico puts on some great fights. He's done a great job of promoting the fights and keeping the art going down here.
Yep. Never ceases to amaze me with what Frederico does and how he can continuously find new fighters.
All right, Luiz is in the ring. Now we're waiting for Waldir to come. He's pacing. He's got that energy, that adrenaline. He wants somebody to hit or strangle.
Yeah, he's an angry man.
He wants to get his hands on somebody.
Yeah, here he comes. Notice a pretty tremendous size difference between the two opponents. But Waldir is definitely the quicker of the two fighters, which may be to his advantage. He's going to certainly need to use speed in order to prevail in this event.
His handlers are getting him ready outside the ring. It could be a psychological ploy, too, letting Luiz stew, walk around the ring. Maybe he wants to make him anxious, a little bit overly aggressive, maybe draw him into a mistake. A little bit of showboating involved, I think.
There's a method to all this madness, and there's a reason for everything that you see.
Some heavyweight fighters were notorious for making their opponents wander around the ring by themselves, feeling foolish for quite a while.
Yeah. I talked to Anjos earlier, of course, by using Frederico as an interpreter, since I don't speak Portuguese. But he was really excited about this fight. He was hoping that it would come to that he would be able to fight Luiz tonight, and his hope has come true. He thinks it's a great opportunity for him to showcase his skills.
Well, he's giving Luiz the stare, but Luiz isn't buying. Referee gives him the instructions. They're one fight away from the championship match, which we will see after a tremendous super fight brawl.
Yeah, we have Igor Vovchanchyn.
He's ranked #1 in the world right now in no holds barred fighting. Okay, they close.
Oh, throws a right hand,
but is backed immediately.
Yeah. Oh, Luiz throws a knee.
They're
wild
swinging
punches.
wild. Look at these guys.
Real wild.
I don't know what happened to the jiu-jitsu. These guys they're looking to hurt each other.
A lot of times that's what happens against the two jiu-jitsu guys. They kind of forget about their jiu-jitsu and go for something else. Maybe throw a surprise in there.
Okay, he's got had a front. It would have been a choke, but he's got a.
He
right straight right.
Very hard. That was a beautiful right hand.
A good right. And, well, you like Waldir. He looks like he's got the best of it right now.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful takedown.
No advantage, I think, at this point.
Luiz is just using that weight advantage right now to pull him around. But that's only going to last so long. He's at some point going to run out of the energy. Waldir now in the guard. Sort of a half guard. See how he has that leg tied down there? What he'll try and do is maybe control that foot that he has hooked up underneath him and work his way around into the side. But right now he's softening him up with strikes.
Right. And Luiz, he wants to get his leg around the other side and get a full guard going.
Yeah.
But, so it's kind of 1 and 1 each way.
Waldir will try and push down the right knee of Luiz and work his way over to the left side to take that side control position. That's the best place that he could be. Another option that he has is pull the right leg over of the left leg of Luiz and work his way into the complete mount. Oh, boy, he's in a bad position now. Luiz...
well, Luiz
he's going for the arm.
Underneath. Nope. Waldir is...
Yeah. See, this is where speed is a big factor, and he was able to sort of squirm out of that. Luiz has taken some serious shots.
Now Luiz
he's really
has
not able to defend.
And he really doesn't have a guard going. His legs are up there, but he's got nothing. No choking. The referee pulls his arm from across his throat.
No, he's allowed to choke. I don't know what the referee was telling him not to do, to be quite honest with you. Maybe he thought he was fish hooking, which is one of the rules that you really cannot do.
Yeah, it looked like his arm was across his throat.
Can't do small joint manipulations, grabbing fingers and things of that nature.
Some slapping punches from Waldir.
Yeah, I think we're in for a hell of a fight. I think this is World War V.
He had a...
What he's trying to do is pivot there a little bit to get his body sideways enough to work possibly into some sort of an arm bar, maybe even work a triangle. But that's not going to happen.
So at this point, you'd say Luiz has the advantage? He's got the guard?
You know, technically Luiz would have the advantage being... when you introduce striking into the game, and there's two jiu-jitsu practitioners, it's very difficult to get a submission on a fighter. Every time you're going for an arm, the striker, you could be in somebody's guard, and you could be throwing strikes at the person, softening them up, then they have to pull their arms back in. So it's not necessarily easy to get the submission when there's striking involved, especially against two really experienced submission fighters.
Well, right now they're taking a breather, maybe waiting for each other to make a mistake or commit to something.
It's about energy management in this game. You see he's throwing those right blows to the upper rib cage.
He's trying to hook the arms in the back, but I think these guys are both so sweaty at this point.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard to get some
right.
purchase or leverage.
Yeah, that's one thing about Brazil. It's a very hot place.
Yeah. Yeah, we caught some nice weather this week.
Oh, yeah.
Food's been great.
I have to say, I never thought I'd come to Brazil to have some of the best sushi I'd ever have.
Oh.
He's got his head against the fence. It's really not the best place to have your head lodged into that chain link fence. It's a very uncomfortable position for the man on his back.
And it tilts your head forward, makes it a little claustrophobic,
Exactly.
restricts the breathing a little bit. So, not an optimum position. But they're actually doing more striking. These two guys from these positions are actually doing a lot more striking than we've seen in the other matches. They both seem to be able to get their hands free, throw a flurry of punches, and go back to their positions without putting themselves in an extremely detrimental spot.
Yeah, and Luiz is actually doing a pretty good job from his back getting those strikes. Notice how he's keeping Vale very close to him in order to prevent those headbutts. But it's a very even match so far. Now, if this was a UFC event, the referee would have stood him up by now, which is really maybe makes the show appear to be a little bit more exciting, but it's
It looks like he's got a cut over his right eye. There's some blood. Luiz, the referee's wiping it off, trying to get a better look at it.
These are generally minor lacerations. They're never anything life-threatening. It's just a little bit of an irritant for the fighter.
Now, does that come from their heads butting and kind of splitting the skin when it hits the bone?
It could very well be from the headbutt. It could be from an elbow, or these. You look at the gloves; it's minimal amount of padding, so it's pretty easy to open up the flesh, especially over the eye, the bone over the eye.
He just missed a heck of a right hand, just slid off Luiz's face. Valdez swinging.
Yeah, this is a real game of chess here. Nobody seems to be wanting to take a chance to give up any position.
Well, I used to play chess, and I didn't get too many cuts.
Yeah.
I never got a concussion playing chess, but these guys, they put it all on the line.
But I bet you had a bit of a bruised ego, huh?
Yeah, well. Well, how would I know an 8-year-old kid could play chess that well? I mean, that's not even...
Hey, I was training jiu-jitsu with an 8-year-old kid the other day. He caught me in an arm bar. I wasn't feeling too good.
To some people, they see these kind of lockups and they think that it may be boring. It's not the kind of action that they're used to seeing with two stand-up fighters, but what this really does is showcase the skill, it showcases the expertise, the patience that these guys have.
Yeah, you're very right about that, Mark.
It's like a baseball game. I remember there was an old joke where a guy rushes to the baseball game with his wife, and he gets there in the 6th inning, and he's steaming because they were running late, and his wife says, "What's the score?" He said, "It's 0-0." And she says, "Well, you didn't miss anything."
That's a good one. And point very well taken. When you train in the sport day in and day out like I do, you appreciate every little move, because there's a method to this madness, and every little move has a purpose. Trying to get those headbutts in.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice Luiz is really smart about keeping Valdez close to him, so he can't get enough room to be able to open up another. Oh, well, that was actually a decent headbutt he got in there.
Yeah, I don't know if the people watching this tape can really appreciate it, but these skulls, they're pretty hard, and they're hitting a soft part of the face, the cheeks, the nose.
Yeah. Used correctly, a headbutt is probably one of the most effective techniques in the business. Even in street fighting, it's a very effective technique.
When you train in your jiu-jitsu, do you put in headbutts as you're training? Do you work it while you're playing?
We do. Obviously, we don't do full power headbutts. We do it just to keep ourselves aware and how we might possibly want to defend. And one of the ways is, covering our foreheads with the palms of our hands. And also keeping the person's head as close to your head as possible, not giving any room for them to move it back and slam it back into you. But you have to think about every possible scenario.
It looks like he's worked himself into a position along the fence where Waldir doesn't have the leverage to do what he wants to do, but
what he should be doing here is maybe opening up the guard and maybe getting a hook in underneath, which is maybe taking a bit of a chance, but he could possibly sweep him to take the top position, because clearly he's not doing anything down here. He's not going for submissions right now. But it's a very bold move opening up that guard, because you take the chance of having somebody get you into the mount or a side position.
And these guys, Waldir's pretty experienced. If that guard opens up, he's going to run up his body and try to mount him.
Good possibility of that. You have to be very quick when you do these things.
He's swinging.
I think Waldir is getting the better part of him right now. Luiz.
He's certainly ahead on points, in my opinion, yeah. But no.
He's got control of his left arm.
No great damage has been done yet, though. I don't think anyone's got a big advantage physically.
Oh, they're going to stand him up.
Referee separates him.
I think that was a good move by the referee. Get a little action going here. Oh,
once again, he moves right in again, very aggressively.
Back. Oh.
Luiz used the ropes.
Now has a clearly superior position.
He's trying to turn him over.
Yeah. Trying to take the back.
Boy. Huh. Looks like Luiz caught him with a right.
Some crazy hands, huh?
Waldir throws a right and closes.
Oh,
and he's on top again in a half guard.
I would not want to be in that half guard with Waldir on top of me.
Now, Waldir's holding his head with both hands. He's got his neck in close. What is he looking for from this position?
He's just trying to look for any mistake that Luiz may make.
He wants to create an opening for himself, obviously, but is he in a position now where he's doing any damage?
Really not doing any damage.
Luiz.
It's sort of a waiting game, trying to maybe work out of that half guard position and either take the side mount or the mount, which is really where you want to be. And see, he's trying to work this leg out. You see Luiz holding as tightly with his legs onto Waldir's leg, so he can't get that. Because you're in a very bad position when a man is on top of you. You can't protect yourself. And there's numerous submissions that you can do.
Waldir throws a nice
he's
uppercut,
got control
too.
of his arm, and he's throwing some good solid punches.
Yeah,
right
we
now.
can't tell what he's hitting because his body's obscuring the target. But he's throwing some uppercuts, some hooks.
Okay, now
he's going to the side.
He's got the side. He's going to go for a guillotine. He's working the guillotine. He's going to try to work his leg. Oh, just went back into... Yep.
The side now.
Luiz is in very inferior position right now.
It looks like Waldir's been doing all the damage since they reclashed.
Yes. The camera work is just incredible.
Now he's throwing some elbows, forearms.
Yeah, like I said earlier, if you can strike with the elbow, it really preserves those hands, because there's so many bones in the hand. It's so easy to break the hand. The elbow is really strong and not a lot of nerves, so you can throw a lot of hard elbows and not ever know you struck anybody.
But I wouldn't count Luiz out. He's dangerous. He's actually conserved most of his energy. He hasn't been the more active one.
No, he hasn't.
And I've seen these matches turn around.
Anything can happen
Fatigue.
at any moment.
They're locked up again. The referee's got a close look on them.
See how his leg is crossed? Luiz has his leg crossed over. That's to prevent the mount.
I see. So he can. It's like a block.
Exactly.
They're working hard, I'll tell you. Frederico, you're back with us?
Yeah, we're having a little bit of a problem because even though Alessandro Freire advanced into the semifinal, he's not going to be able to continue. We're trying to see which one of the alternates is available because apparently one of the alternates also got hurt. So now we have a little bit of a situation. But this fight is turned out to be unbelievable, guys.
These guys are working so hard, and Waldir's been the aggressor throughout the whole fight. He's been a little quicker. He's throwing more punches. He's been on top throughout most of the fight.
Waldir is one of my favorite fights. You know, I like the look in his face and what kind of shape that guy is in. I mean, his body fat must be 3 or 4%. You know, it's pure.
He's a true professional.
Absolutely. Fights with his heart, you know, and he'll take a fight every week. I mean, every time when this kid comes to me, he says, "Please get me a fight, get me a fight." And he fought also in the WVC 5, and he fought against Paul Verlaine. It's a huge weight and height difference. Yet the kid, you know, gave his best, and I'm a big fan of his.
Paul Verlaine's, what is 6'8", about 300 pounds?
6'8", 340 pounds.
Wow.
340 pounds.
That's a big man.
It is. It is.
Well, Waldir's throwing some right crosses. Most of them aren't landing, though.
Both of them are very hurt. I mean, it seems both of them seems to be bleeding, right?
Well, Luiz has a cut over his right eye. You can see it now from the camera angle up close. But they're locked up again, right on top of the fence, pretty close to where we're sitting. They're only a few feet away from us. Luiz looks like he's conserving his energy and trying to keep himself in a position where he's not going to be too vulnerable.
But Waldir is working on that cut.
Both are the two jiu-jitsu guys, so finally we got over that period where jiu-jitsu guys don't fight each other anymore. The guy on the bottom is from Brasilia, which is our capital, like Washington, D.C., the equivalent. And Waldir is a local from here, Salvador, Bahia. And, you know, the excitement level in the crowd is great. I mean, although these guys are... You know, I'm afraid the fight might even break out here ringside.
He's got a lot of fans here. And they're rooting. They're cheering him.
Actually, I saw a couple scuffles earlier this evening.
Well, we don't want to give you the impression that it's not safe to come and watch these fights. But
it's so emotional. It's
a lot of
like
fervor, a lot
game.
of excitement.
These fans take this sport very seriously.
Absolutely. That's why I always work with a jiu-jitsu champion like yourself. So I know I have some protection going to the car.
I don't know what good I'll do against some of these guys. I'm getting a little bit old.
Yeah, well.
But I'll do my best.
You got a few years to go till you're my age, I'll tell you that. I'll be 97 next week. It's incredible.
But you look good.
Thank you. I don't feel a day over 79. But,
it's all that kung fu training.
Yeah, breathing exercises. I don't know. I don't think I was as tough as these guys in my best days.
Yeah, we'd like to think so. You know, I have that saying, the older I get, the better I was. Oh, nice headbutt. He's really working the right eye of Luiz.
Waldir has shown the greater array of weapons. Luiz looks like he's going for... He's looking for the ear shot, it looked like. The palms to the ear.
Yeah, that's
a
a very dangerous
to the head.
technique.
Absolutely.
You could burst the eardrums with that. And it's one of those things that is allowed in these tournaments.
There's a hammer fist to the side of the head.
Trying to turn him over. Well, the referee's going to stand him up again. Maybe we can get a little bit more action.
I'll tell you, the guys working as hard as they've been.
Oh,
they're
that was
not
actually a
even
nice uppercut he just threw.
Now they're both swinging a little wildly.
Oh, beautiful high kick.
They're throwing punches and they're both landing. Oh, he's really putting himself at risk by picking his leg up that high, isn't he?
I wasn't aware that Luiz had such good high kicks. Can really must have been working on that.
There's
a lot
a
in his
right
training.
cross, a left. I think he hurt his hand. I think they're just saying, let's see who the tougher guy is. Let's just see who can stand up. They're just firing.
This is a war.
This is one of the best action fights. I mean, we've got it all here. You've got the grappling, the chokes, the elbows, headbutts. Now they're standing up. They're boxing. This is really an all-around incredible fight. What a great matchup. Look at these two guys on their feet. And nobody wants to go down. Nobody wants to give an inch.
This is what you call a heart.
Waldir's feinting a little bit, faking a little bit. He's getting his legs moving, pumping himself back up. And Luiz is stalking, just moving in like a tank.
He's built like a tank.
It's an overhand right, left hook. You can see the punches don't have the mechanics or the style that someone who boxes a lot more might have, but these guys are pretty heavy. They're big, strong guys, and if they land a punch, there's a nice right.
Absolutely. And they are, you'd be surprised. A lot of these guys now are working on their boxing skills. You'll see they're getting more and more refined, but the majority of their lives have been spent on the ground,
Yeah,
working
they just
grappling. What they know
Here's a jab.
works. But when you talk about a sport jiu-jitsu tournament, which a lot of these guys originally trained in traditional jiu-jitsu using the gi, there are no strikes, so they were able to just work on the technical aspect of jiu-jitsu. Striking changes the game entirely.
Meanwhile, a roundhouse kick by Luiz. He threw a couple of combinations.
Well, looks like Luiz won. I was wrong. Yeah, good job by Luiz. He fought
That's
with
incredible.
a lot of heart and determination.
That's
tonight.
incredible. The guy, he was behind the whole fight, and he ends it with some punching. It's amazing. He's spent. He's exhausted, but he's happy. I'll tell you, that was a fight for the fans. These guys really gave it their
Beautiful
all.
fight. And again, the martial artists show such displays of sportsmanship, embracing after the fight. It never ceases to amaze me.
Well, we do have Travis Fulton coming up, and the replacement fighter is going to be Augusto Ferreira. He's also a jiu-jitsu stylist, 198 pounds, 6'1". He'll be in the black trunks. Travis will be in the blue trunks again. Travis, we saw earlier on. He fought a great fight with Cerqueira.
I think what we're going to see tonight with Travis again, the wrestler's going to work on the takedowns and try and incorporate the ground and pound method. Get on top and finish with strikes.
And there's our favorite participant of the night, the ring girl.
That's another thing Frederico's been very good at.
Introducing us to the ring girls.
Yes.
Yeah. If my wife is watching this back home, well, glad you're back home.
Fortunately for me, I don't have a wife. But that would be quite a fight, actually. Maybe
Right.
we'll get Frederico to put that
Right.
one on the air.
No, my wife's a killer. Okay. They shake hands. They're in the center of the ring.
Now watch for Travis to...
He's leading with his box. He's got some nice boxing footwork for a wrestler.
He's got some good movement. But he'll probably shoot in and try and do a double leg takedown.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the wrestler is showing a great sign of ground control skills.
Well, now he's got one leg, but Freire is doing some heel kicks to the head, but
Ferreira did a great job of avoiding that takedown.
he looks a little slight, though. He may not have the body weight. They're up against the fence.
Throwing elbows to the spine.
Yeah.
That's a little bit irritating.
Yeah, it can be.
Travis has the clear side control position. Right now, he's probably going to work for the mount, but he could be trying to throw that knee. Working the rib cage with his left knee.
Well, right now it looks like he's just content to control his opponent.
Exactly.
He's got him in what looks like a standard wrestling hold.
Exactly. And he's keeping his body very, very low. Again, this is where wrestlers are so darn good.
He's got his knee in his ribs. You may not be able to see that on the tape, but he's causing him some discomfort. He's got almost what amounts to what would be a triangle choke. He's got his head for leverage. He's got...
Ferreira's doing everything in his power to work Travis back into his guard, because he's certainly in no good position where he is. Very patient. Travis is very patient.
As you pointed out earlier, Ferreira's got his knee up there. He's got his legs crossed to prevent the movement into the guard.
Actually, to avoid the mount position.
I mean the movement onto the mount. I mean...
That's okay. You Kung Fu guys don't have to know everything about
No,
jiu-jitsu.
I don't know. Mount, guard, I don't know. Travis is getting busy.
Yeah, Travis hasn't really begun to incorporate some of his strikes. I think he's trying to wear Ferreira down a little bit, which is a very conservative, smart play.
Well, he's got another fight if he wins this one for the championship, and he's already fought once. So even though these guys do have incredible conditioning levels, they still have to be smart. They do have to, as you point out, conserve their energy. And you know, these fights have 30-minute time limits. You know, you can end up in a 30-minute championship fight, and they say, what, fatigue is an athlete's biggest enemy, biggest fear.
That's the one thing about these tournament-type fighting. You know, one opponent could have 2 5-minute fights, where you could be fighting a guy that's fought 2 30-minute fights that evening, and it's not necessarily always the fairest route.
Right, right. Well, Freire's still trying to work him. He's shooting some elbows.
Ferreira's trying to use that fence.
Oh, he's turned him over
in
now.
trouble now. This is where the wrestler's not tremendous as far as taking the back and doing submissions.
All right, now it's a reversal.
Yeah.
He reversed.
Now the wrestler has the jiu-jitsu man in his guard. This is not where I would want to be as a wrestler.
Well, I think
I'd rather be mounted as a wrestler than have somebody in my guard.
I think he made a mistake, to be honest with you. When he was on top and it looked like he might have an opportunity to choke, he threw a few punches, some elbows. I think he might have gotten a little carried away with trying to hurt the other guy instead of staying with a real secure position, maybe going in for a choke and just holding him close.
But unfortunately,
and he allowed him to move.
With the wrestlers, they're not given that many submissions. In wrestling, you can win the fight by pinning your opponent's back onto the mat. So he has to. The only way he could really win the fight is through strikes. So.
Well, he's catching a few now.
Yeah, he is. He's certainly not in a good position.
He's getting tattooed in the back of his head.
Yeah, Ferreira. I looked at Ferreira's hands. He's got such strong hands. I've never seen knuckles
The knuckles,
like that.
just big knuckles. He's got a boniness to his elbows and knuckles.
Yeah. Well, luckily for Ferreira, he's has Travis back right into his own corner, so he has his teammates sort of telling him what to do. It's always a nice place to be.
He's getting some help. It feels comfortable, and it looks like Travis is just content to sit and hold on. You know, I don't know. He looks like he's...
Ferreira's throwing repeated right hands.
Yeah.
And connecting with quite a few of those.
Actually, I think they're lefts, but I don't expect you jiu-jitsu guys to know much about hitting.
I have a little dyslexia. I stand corrected. Hey, I did a little kickboxing, okay?
Yeah, you did a lot of kickboxing from what I heard, but Travis seems content to take a lot of shots. He doesn't seem to be trying to work himself into a more advantageous position. Now he's... Well, he's getting his teammates He's moving around a little bit. I think he's gotten tired of being clubbed.
Oh, the wrestler worked his way out. Beautiful reversal. Wrestler's really not in a tremendous amount of danger here. Travis has worked a lot with jiu-jitsu guys on avoiding getting caught in arm bars, which is something that if you watched Kevin Jackson fight in one of the UFC events, he was caught in an arm bar by Jerry Bolander and by Frank Shamrock. So
he's keeping his elbows
yes.
bent, he's keeping his arms tucked in, but he is catching some elbows on top of the head.
And Kevin Jackson was a gold medalist. So that's a top-notch wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
They really have to conserve those hands.
And what can Travis do to put himself in a better position? We just
The best
scoot
thing-
it up a little bit.
Yeah, there's a few different things that he could do. What he needs to do is, and it's dangerous when somebody's striking.
That was it. It was a submission.
Yeah.
As soon as he got up to a higher position, had him pinned down.
Definitely
Lefts
got
and
him.
rights. It was a good flurry of punches by Travis.
I call it a wrestler submission when they finish with strikes.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I like to think of a submission as an arm bar or a choke, but it is a submission. A submission is a submission.
All right. Well, next up is going to be the super fight. And then we're going to come back for the championship fight. And the super fight, as Federico told us earlier, Edson, who is one of the top fighters, who was trained by a man that they call the Death Master, was replaced by Freitas. And Aloisio Freitas going to be fighting Igor Vovchanchyn. And Igor, he is the highest ranked, no-holds-barred fighter right now. He won the Pride Show, which is the Japanese version of Vale Tudo. 2 times he was the AFC champion, and I think he's the current WVC champion. He's from Russia. He'll be in the black trunks. He weighs 235 pounds.
And he is a big, strong
and
man.
he's only 5'10", and his specialty was kickboxing.
He's one of the few guys I've seen dominate grapplers with virtually no grappling skills whatsoever, just based on his sheer brute power and punching ability.
Well,
he
he's
gets on
fought-
top of you and hits you, and you know he was there. He's about the toughest human being I've ever met.
Well, here he is. He's a moose, no doubt about it.
Big,
Freitas,
strong man.
Freitas going to have his hands full. He had to take this fight on very short notice. Edson called in with an injury 3 days ago, but he will be fighting in the next Vale Tudo.
Yeah, Federico did promise us a rematch, and we will have
He
it.
will be fighting Igor. I think the match is scheduled for the first week of February, and we'll have that for you on tape also available. And that ought to be a tremendous fight. The Death Master claims that he has killed people with the death touch, that he can gain a submission, a knockout with one blow. But unfortunately, he isn't here tonight, and a lot of the fans came out wanting to see him, were disappointed. But this still should be a good fight. This guy is he is a fighter, Freitas.
I don't look at him as just a replacement fighter. This is
No.
this is the real deal here.
No, there have been nobody, as you can see by the last fight in which there was a replacement fighter. That guy, he had a tremendous arsenal. I just think he was a little bit outgunned by the wrestler.
Absolutely.
He had a great arsenal. And they come out.
You watch Igor try and strike.
Igor is pointing out to the referee.
Here we go again.
They
Igor-
shake hands and come out fighting, both in a boxing stance.
Igor's a tremendous leg kicker. As you can see.
Immediately goes for the thigh kicks.
And if you're not used to watching leg kicks, ladies and gentlemen, they are about as devastating a thing as that you could have. It's the worst Charlie horse you'll ever have, times 1,000.
And you can see Igor's legs look like tree stumps, although basically he'll be kicking, the shin will be the contact point on the leg kicks to the thigh, but
It's the equivalent of a baseball bat hitting you at 80 miles an hour.
He throws a left, and Freitas kind of dancing out of the way. I guess his game plan is going to be to keep moving, not give him a good target.
The jiu-jitsu fighter's going to want to take Igor down to the ground, which is not an easy task.
Well, he came in for a leg dive. Igor rode him down to the ground, knee to the top of the head, and then rolled on top of him. Now, you call this the half mount, when each one has a leg around the other.
I call it the half guard.
Half guard.
Well, for the guy on the top, it's a half mount. The guy on the bottom, it's a half guard.
Right, it's a half a glass of water or half a glass of glass. He's striking to the head. It's
using those headbutts very effectively.
Yeah, Igor, here I am back again, guys. Yeah, Igor is just he is without a doubt the highest ranked fighter in this industry. He's calm. He comes from a kickboxing background. He's learning to grapple, yet this guy has defeated kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, sambo. And it's so. I've been with this kid around the world.
Look at the hand. Look at the size of his hands. They're a few feet away from us right now.
The size of his hands are unbelievable.
Igor looks like he has two clubs, and he's smacking Freitas in the back of the head now.
And the amazing thing outside of the ring, he's such a tremendously nice, gentle, docile individual.
Well, isn't that the way it always is? You know, us guys that are really tough, we're always the nicest guys.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, as I was saying, this guy's defeated everybody. He's proven that more than the style of fighter needs a heart, and he does has an unbelievable heart.
Well, he's working. He's got his face across, his arm across Freitas' face. Freitas now has the guard.
Yeah, he was trying to work on that side mount, and then Freire was able to bring him back to the guard. Freitas showing a lot of heart.
Quick hands. He's got quick hands.
Wasn't one of his smarter things standing up. He would have been better staying on his back.
I agree with you. I'm with you there.
Well, you do not want to stand up against Igor.
Well, you're probably right, but we aren't the guy with the 235 pounds laying across our chest.
One thing I've noticed about Igor is you guys are going to notice, like, he will not strike. He waits for an opponent to attack in order to capitalize. He keeps his guard low. And
right.
He's very much a counter fighter.
He's a counter fighter.
Very much
it's a chum. We call it a chum. He's looking to pull the other guy in.
The way he won the WVC 5 was by kneeing Nick Nutter, Mark Coma's best student, in the face and knocking the guy out in 30 seconds.
Well, you saw earlier the first thing he did when he rode Aloisio down was a knee straight to the top of the head.
A lot of credit needs to be given to Aloisio, who took this fight in 3 days' notice. This guy, he's outweighted.
Right.
He trains his regular routine, but he wasn't preparing for a fight, and a fight of that caliber. Igor is ranked number 2 in the world today, Mark Kerr being number 1. But however, Igor has proven himself by far more than Mark Kerr, because he's the only guy who won 5 8-man tournament. He's got the highest record in the industry. This guy, I have no words to...
I think he's the unsung hero. He's probably the least appreciated out of all these guys, and probably the best fighter out of all of them.
You're right, Darren, and I think it has to do with the fact he lives in Kiev, Ukraine, and he's away from the press, and he's a bodyguard to a very famous...
beautiful kick. He just threw a beautiful left kick
to the ribcage. He come down and he works, but again, the patience. You see, he throws his flurry. As soon as he sees that it's not going to be a big advantage, he backs up. Wait a minute. Alessio's not getting up.
Apparently.
He took a shot to the groin, it looks like. That's been known to hurt.
I'll tell you, I'd rather have an operation, I think, have my gallbladder removed again than get kicked in the groin by Igor Vovchanchyn. The guy's got 2 tree stumps for legs.
Yeah, that could definitely hurt. I don't think he's going to be having any kids anytime soon.
Not with me. He's down. They're gonna have someone take a look at him.
Yeah.
I wonder if the kick really connected, or if the fight it's taking a breather,
Well, it's hard to say. There was that one moment when Igor threw a flurry of kicks and punches and then backed off, and he certainly could have landed.
And Igor came from a great fight. Igor just fought Pride a couple months ago, where he knocked out Gary Goodridge in 3 minutes. Gary Goodridge almost defeated Marco Ruas, and so here comes Igor and knocks him out in 3 minutes.
Yeah, as big and stocky as this gentleman is, he's tremendously agile. And if you look at the speed of his hands when he throws a hook or a right hand, it's tremendously fast.
All right, Aloisio got his breather, got his groin back in order. He's bouncing around a little bit. That's going to also make him feel
He's a little gun shy now, which is understandable.
Well, he's got to be looking at Igor, trying to figure out where's the weak spot.
You can see the jiu-jitsu guys anticipating the leg kicks, and you notice how he's bouncing his front leg up and down. And in fact, the last time he did a relatively good job of checking the leg kick of Igor.
Well, he's not into a jiu-jitsu position at this point, obviously, because he's rocking back on his heels. I think, to be honest with you, I think he's a little bit afraid. There, he came forward a little bit there, a little aggressiveness, but I think he has a little bit of fear
I'm
of Igor's
afraid.
power.
I'm sitting 20 feet
Yeah,
away.
I think he's afraid of his power, and he's keeping him off balance, keeping him back on his heels, so he's obviously not going to be able to shoot in.
I agree with you guys. And Aloisio took the fight, as I said in last notice, and I don't think he realized who he was up against. And after being in the ground, which is his strong part of his game, he realized. I mean, he saw the power of Igor. He couldn't move. I mean, he tried a couple arm locks, I think, and he didn't succeed. So now I think he's pretty much desperate. He doesn't even know what to do.
Right. Igor's cutting the ring
He's
off.
in trouble.
He took the dive.
Good. He pulled him into his guard, which is really about the safest place that he could be.
Absolutely. But Igor already passed half a guard, and I was almost in the mouth. Leg lock.
He's going for a leg lock. Lost it. Now Igor's going to move his leg. Actually, Igor's showing a great display of wrestling skills now. He must be working on
He's improved a great deal, and that's the only loss that I saw that Igor had in his career was in the Absolute Fighting Championship #1 in Moscow, Russia, and he lost for a leg lock against Misha, who later on fought against Carlos Barreto and lost in the Universal Vale Tudo Fighting in Tokyo.
He's got a good
Igor's
awareness.
Clearly in a superior watch. He's opening his knee up to throw a knee strike.
He's got an awareness of his body, absolutely.
Right there.
He's not. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And
before he gets hurt too much. Before he gets hurt too much
Here I go,
more, he
guys.
did the right thing. Thank you, Federico.
Yeah, that was Federico.
That was the super
Lapenda.
fight, and well, we hope you enjoyed it. As I said, the first week of February, Igor's going to be fighting Edson, so we're all looking forward to that match.
That's one thing about Federico. He makes a promise. He says he's going to put a match together, and he does.
He wouldn't-
Unlike a lot of boxing promoters.
He wouldn't lie. Oh, they're
think
helping him
that,
out of the ring. He's got some, he's got a neck sprain. I mean,
those knees to the head.
it's got to be tough. Knees to the head.
I don't know if you've ever watched a carpet layer work. It's like the equivalent. You see the carpet
Absolutely.
layer using that
That's right.
knee to dry the carpet. Well, imagine your head being that
Well,
pad.
Yeah, he looked like he was installing his head into the carpet, unfortunately, for Aloisio. We've got the championship match coming up next. As soon as we clear the ring, it's going to be the championship match. And that's going to be a pretty good fight, too. Guys with some good skills. You saw earlier Travis Fulton and Luiz Claudio. They both overcame some good fighters. They had some good matches. They fought their way. There were no gimmies. They both proved themselves with some really good fights.
And that's really what makes up a good fight card. Is every fight is somewhat of a challenge.
No stiffs.
There's nobody protected in this game. Anything could happen at any time.
Igor's got his people in the ring. There's Federico.
Handsome man.
He tells me that all the time.
It's amazing such a young gentleman could be so articulate and so successful and so worldly. He spent a lot of time with. I spent a lot of time with Federico all around the world.
The guy's incredible, as he's told me on many occasions.
Yeah.
There are very few like him. When he finishes with his ring duties, maybe we'll get him down here for a minute. He can tell us how Igor felt about his match and what he had to say about the performance he put on, if he was satisfied with what he did, anything unexpected in his match. We've been treated very well down here, I'll tell you. The food, I'm very impressed. This is my first time here, and I'm having a great time. Everyone's been so
I'm
wonderful.
wondering if Brazil's that way, or it's just that
The ring
Federico's
girl.
showing us such a good time.
It's
that,
the ring girl.
Yeah, the ring girl doesn't.
It's the ring girl. She.
Hey, listen, you're gonna have a serious problem when you get home with your wife.
That's all right. My wife's never going to see the tape, and I may just stay
don't
here.
forget this is a live broadcast.
Well, we're not getting it right now in Los Angeles. I don't think they're televising that, but I may not go home. I may stay here. The ring girl, some Brazilian food, maybe train some jiu-jitsu myself. I'll put the Jew in jiu-jitsu. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
You can say that because you will happen to be of the
I am
Jewish
of the
faith.
I am of the Hebraic persuasion. We have a history of great fighting. Travis Fulton, the wrestler, fought his way to the finals. He's going to come in at 215 pounds against Luiz Claudio, the jiu-jitsu stylist, 225. As I said before, we saw some great matchups. These guys, no gimmies. They fought hard bouts all the way to the championship. What are you looking for in this fight, Darren? What do you think?
I believe that the wrestler, I have to give it to the bigger, stronger wrestler this time. He's clearly showed great displays of control, takedown abilities, which are always the strong suit of the wrestler. Not to take anything away from jiu-jitsu, which happens to be my sport, but I think that Travis has a great chance of winning this.
He's going to be up against the guy who comes in a little bit heavier, Luiz. They both fought similar matches. They both had to use some patience. They both overcame some striking. They both used some striking. They're pretty well-rounded fighters, and they seem to have a lot of heart. I don't think either of them is going to give. Who do you like?
I would have to give it to Travis.
All right.
And Travis, you watch what happens. Travis is going to take him down.
I don't know if I can agree with you. I was pretty impressed. Claudio, he was...
why don't we put a little wager on this?
Federico, welcome back. What's your thought on this fight?
Actually, it's a tough one. I mean, first of all, I want to explain to everybody that Luiz Claudio is fighting with a Band-Aid up above his eyes, and Travis did agree to that because, I mean, it never happened before in the show. And as far as the fight, is a tough call because Luiz, I actually thought Waldir was going to defeat Luiz Claudio. It was an incredible war. But because Luiz Claudio won, so I'm a little bit...
So he showed that he's got some heart.
Lot of heart.
Now, how did Igor feel about his fight?
Igor had I don't want to take any credit from Aloisio, but Igor didn't have a run for his money, you know. The guy didn't have enough time to train for the fight, and Igor, he was happy. Another belt for his collection.
Absolutely.
Here we are.
Well, so far...
Watch Travis to go for the takedown.
And the jiu-jitsu guy, like you pointed out earlier, his hands out in more of a defensive posture, looking for some type of commitment. Well, so far nobody's willing to close.
Yeah, these hands really are not so much to finish, though. That was not a bad
jab, and
yep.
A jab, and he shoots in.
Very good.
Goes for a double leg takedown.
And he's
down and he's up again.
Yeah, Luiz Claudio has an incredible disadvantage, the cut above his eyes.
He's
if Travis fights with his mind, he would just use his head. He just attacks that eye. And...
Well, you know, it's easy to see from up here in the booth.
Travis is clearly the superior position right now.
Half a guard already passed and working to the mount.
Yeah. Throwing those punches.
A couple blows.
And he's throwing punches constantly.
Yeah.
There's
a
tremendous. Look at that.
He can't take many more of
these. I agree. I think from this point on.
Incredible. He's just
I almost
wailing
have
away.
To say the referee. Now his neck is exposed. Now, if this was a jiu-jitsu guy here, he would have a much greater chance of finishing. But the wrestlers really are not that well versed.
Travis has been working on his submission holds. He told me that, besides the judo, but wrestling background, he was working with.
Oh, look at those beautiful elbows.
He's
slipping that hand in.
He's looking to hurt him. I mean, now generally a jiu-jitsu player might go for the choke, right?
The jiu-jitsu guy would have finished him at this point.
Choked him out already, or put him in a position where.
Maybe I'm a little biased.
Oh yeah, well.
Yeah, Travis is choosing to punish Luiz Claudio instead of trying to apply the submission. I wonder if he's crossing his feet down.
And I'll tell you something else, though. He may be sending a message.
Federico had a point. If Travis is crossing his legs behind, there's a technique that you could use to break the opponent's ankles.
They stopped the match.
That's it. Travis our new champion.
He couldn't take the punishment anymore. The referee didn't want him to absorb any more punishment. The referee stops the match. Travis is the champion. He fought his way through a great tournament, and he's the champion of number 6.
And you owe me $100.
Well, my check's in the mail. Look at that. The blood. This is incredible. This was a night of fighting.
And let's give some credit to Luiz for getting in there with that terrible laceration over his eye.
He had a laceration. He had already been worked pretty good in his last fight.
But he did not have to come out and fight again.
No,
and,
these guys have guts.
We gave him the opportunity not to fight, and he is a true warrior. He got in there and took that fight in spite of our advice against doing it.
He absorbed a lot of punishment. The only thing I started to point out earlier before the fight stopped was that Travis might be sending a message. You know, he's showing other fighters, he's showing the world right now that he's mean, he will hurt you, he will use those elbows.
Here's Frederick.